You know, there's some things I forgot to tell you guys, and they're really important. Number one, he hates bright lights. We know that. But you got to keep him out of the sunlight. Sunlight will kill him. Number two, keep him away from water. Don't give him any water to drink. And whatever you do, don't give him a bath. And probably the most important thing, don't ever feed him after midnight.
Hey guys, it's the Large Marge Santos podcast, the podcast where two sweeties talk about their favorite childhood movies. And that's it. I always want to think of something cool to say at the end, but it never works out. Maybe next time. Anyways, I'm Sweetie.
And I'm Sweetie.
And we have a Christmas present for you guys.
Yay! Merry Christmas from the Sweeties!
Even though we didn't really cover many Christmas movies this season.
Oops.
Maybe only two. And one was a shitty Keanu Reeves TV movie.
We tried.
But we thought we'd suck it up and do one for you for Christmas. Although it's not a conventional Christmas movie by any means. Still Christmas movie. We have brought you guys
Gremlins. Ooh.
Mogwai.
Oh. I feel like I do a really good Gizmo voice. I'm on it. Yeah, so funny thing about this one. This movie's from 1984, so a little bit too old for us since I was born in 83, Sweetie 86. But Gremlins was like a giant thing in the 80s. Like as a semi-80s kid, those things were like everywhere. However, we really are more familiar with the sequel, Gremlins 2, A New Batch, which came out in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So that's really like the one that we kind of reference more. So, but it was good to go back and watch the orig because it is pretty cool.
It's good. It's definitely darker, more of a horror movie, but not a standard horror movie, I guess.
Really scarier.
Yeah, scarier
than I thought.
People die. I don't remember,
but die in a funny way, and they don't show them really dead.
Right,
that one guy
right. But I don't remember anybody dying in the second one. I guess is my question.
They just get hurt.
There are some scary scenes in the second one, but this one was just it definitely feels darker. But still very funny. A lot more cute Gizmo time and action, which I appreciated because that was always my favorite part about the second one, is how cute Gizmo was and how sweet he was. But great movie.
I really enjoyed it more than I thought I was. So
we laughed a lot.
Happy Christmas to me.
I screamed once, or twice.
There's some good jumps.
Oh yeah, so many good things to talk about. So let's get into
it.
Oh wait, I wanted to sing a Christmas song for everybody first.
Oh,
1, 2, 3. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays. Name that song.
That's in sync song.
You're right.
Yes.
Such a good song. Good.
Bells are ringing.
Yeah.
It's time to scream.
She's going.
And shout. Scream and shout.
She's going for it.
Everybody's playing because school's out.
Yeah. If you want a good Christmas album, you should listen to the NSYNC Christmas
album. What is it titled? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays?
I hope so. I don't know. But it's good. It's a good one. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. So let's get into it.
One gremlin at a time. It's time for the Sweetie Synopsis.
Yeah. Sweeties. I forget their name.
Billy. Something with a P.
Pfefferman.
No. Pfefferman's the next door neighbor.
Fletzer?
No.
Fletzer.
Yeah.
Pletzer.
Sesame Plexer?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I'm going to look it up real quick.
Okay, shoot. All right. Well, the father, blank last name, is in Chinatown.
Peltzer
is in Chinatown looking for a Christmas present for his son. He thinks that Chinatown will be a good place to look for a Christmas present for his son, and meanwhile tries to sell his terrible inventions to this weird Chinese antique dealer. He sees a small furry creature in the back of the store. He's intrigued. He wants to buy it. The Chinese man says no. The Chinese man's grandson is like, dude, need the money. So he sells the dad this thing, which is called a Mogwai. So he brings it home for Christmas. Turns out his son is like a 20, maybe he's still in high school.
Well, let's see. Remember the guy in the bank was like, I'm 23 and I'm a bank VP and I'm going to be a millionaire when I'm 30. So I bet he's like early 20s, let's say.
So
Living in his hometown.
So not a small child.
Living with his
Also,
parents.
he already has a dog, so I'm not sure why his dad was like, "Oh, this is the perfect gift for my son, another pet."
Well, it was that part was so weird when he was in the Chinese shop because he's like, "This is exactly what I've been looking for."
Yeah.
And I remember,
Like,
and you were like, creepy, like weird creature in a box. That's exactly what I've been looking for. Like,
I
what?
love it.
What a weirdo.
Anyway, so there's 3 important rules with the Mogwai. They are: rule number 1, they must stay out of the light, especially sunlight, which can kill them. Rule number 2,
Do I get to talk in this podcast?
no water. All right, tell us rule number 3,
Thank
sweetie.
you.
Jeez, I'm sorry. I had things written. I was going through them.
I just haven't spoken a lot yet. I feel underused.
I start the synopsis and then you cut in with your sweetie introductions. Yeah.
Rule number 3. Don't feed them after midnight.
Which is kind of a bullshit rule because, okay, a few things with that. Number 1, when does after midnight stop? Because technically,
What do you mean?
technically 1 p.m. is still after midnight. It's like, when does it stop?
Yeah, they didn't do like
Also-
a stop
Right.
thing.
Also, what about daylight savings time? Like, I just have I have a hard time with that rule. Anyways, so that's my beef. So those are the 3 rules. He gives it to his son Billy, who loves him. He's so cute. He loves him immediately. They try to follow the rules as best they can, but unfortunately, Corey Feldman, who works at the tree store, comes over and spills water on Gizmo by accident.
Total accident.
So they name him Gizmo, by the way, because that's what the dad calls
the
him.
dad is an inventor, so he's like Gizmo.
Oh, missed that.
I just call him Gizmo. He seems to like it. He says
he's sweet. So he gets water on him, and then these things like burst out of his back, and they're more gremlins. So 5 more like fuzzy little gremlins hatch.
Right. And they're cute too, but they're different than Gizmo. They seem to be causing a little bit more trouble. Gizmo just kind of like sits around. He's so sweet. He likes to like sing little songs. He sings this little song that's like dee 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 dee.
Wow, pretty spot on. New talent. Sweetie.
Well, they keep playing it.
A Mogwai Christmas.
Mogwai. I just like to say that.
Yeah, it's very cute.
So they immediately notice the new gremlins, like something is up. So then, so that's them getting wet. And then the next scene, Billy's like late at night, like hanging around, like, oh, it's 11:30. You guys hungry? And they're like, yeah. And he goes and gets them a plate of chicken and feeds them this whole plate of chicken. And then they all go to sleep. Little does Billy know that the clock he used to reference that it was 11:30 was broken, presumably by the gremlins,
who had been causing mayhem secretly all over the house.
Yeah.
We think they tied the dog to the house using Christmas lights. We don't want you to think it's the mean old terrorist Nazi lady, but it's real. I think it was the gremlins' ops. Right. But yeah. So they in the morning, they have turned into these disgusting, gross cocoon pods. And then they hatch. And when they hatch, they turn into terrifying gremlins.
Real gremlins.
Real gremlins. Like real scaly, giant teeth, big red eyes, huge ears, scary.
And the
claws.
whole theme, like the theme of the gremlin, like I kind of like thought back because at the beginning, he has this neighbor called Mr. Futterman. Mr. Futterman. Who's kind of like, seems like a war veteran, very paranoid about foreign things. So he's always like, Billy has like a little Volkswagen Bug. He's like, oh, those foreign cars break down, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like drunk one night and he had driven his tractor to the bar and it like won't start up. And he's like drunk and shouldn't drive home anyway. But then he just starts drunkenly spouting about how there's like gremlins and like engines and things that won't work or something. And then they like fuck everything up. So that's where like the little like seed of like gremlins like starting all this trouble. Because I think the thing with the gremlins is that they do like hurt people in this, but mostly they just cause like such mischief. Yeah. And that's like what a technical gremlin is, right?
I suppose. Yeah. But these ones are
Yeah,
scary.
but these ones do, unfortunately, I think, kill some people.
Yep.
So then, and we missed the part where he takes one to the school to, but that's why they end up at the school, though.
Well, there's just one at the school.
But that's why the big one goes, and then why he gets wet, and then there's more. You know what I mean?
No, but they didn't go. That was at the YMCA, the big one. He
Oh,
jumped
it was
in
the
the
YMCA.
pool.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, where are we at? Okay, the big gremlins are all out, and the mom is home by herself. And she goes up into the attic, and all the pods have busted open, and the gremlins are around the house.
Mm-hmm. And she starts kicking butt.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You're obsessed. I think you want a mom action figure. Whatever. What's her last name again? I should write it down. I'm going to keep saying it.
Pelter?
No.
Pelter Skelter?
Peltzer.
Peltzer. Yeah, the mom just like takes care of business. So there's only 5 gremlins in the house, 6 including Gizmo.
Gremlins.
Yeah. And so she takes care of 3 of them single-handedly by herself. She puts one in like I think it was the orange juice making machine or something. He like falls into it. I don't know, some blender thing. She stabs one and then puts one in the microwave.
And then Billy kills
and then Billy kills another one. And then the last one is Stripe, because he had this like gross mohawk. And he escapes. And then they follow him. And Smart Gremlin makes his way to the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
You can jump into the pool and multiply at the YMCA. Gremlins everywhere. All right.
So that's what he does. He falls into the pool, and there are like, I don't know, how many gremlins would you say?
So many.
And they just take over this town. So then they really start like making a ruckus. And it's funny with the violence in this movie because it was like really scary, and you're like, because they're really gross looking little things, and they have like these nasty nails, and they keep scratching everyone. Like that's their thing, and like big teeth. But they're like kind of funny too, so you're like laughing at the same time. Mm-hmm. It was such like a mixed feeling for me.
Oh, so it's just like the witches and Hocus Pocus, or I thought there was something else, but same idea. Or like, yes, terrible but entertaining.
Yeah, they had the like really mean lady of the town who owns the bank, who like won't give people loans and is like wants to kill Billy's dog.
Because he wrecked a statue. I didn't like. Yeah, he didn't kill anyone. Lady,
too much time on her hands.
He knocked the statue over. Like, calm down.
So she has one of those. What are they called? I feel like they're called something. You always like see them on like infomercials. Yeah. So it's like that like chair that you can get for old people, so you don't have to climb up and down stairs. You just like sit on it, and it like takes you down the stairs on like a little track. So he like fucks with it or like does the wire, and she sits in it and goes like flying like full speed up the stairs, and gets propelled out the window of like the 3rd story window, and with still in her chair, presumably dead, like on the street as she is like plummeted to her death.
She totes dead.
So it was like like very terrifying, but like hilarious. Also, like you hate that lady. And then there comes to Santa Claus, and he has all of them like on his back, and he's like, "Help me!" And there's these police officers. They're like, "What are those things?" And they won't save him.
That was weird. They're like, "Let's get out of here." Yeah.
And then their brakes get cut, so then they're like driving through town, and the car flips over. So who knows what happened to them?
Yep. Yeah, so just a whole lot of chaos.
Yeah, so much chaos.
So then the huge swarm of gremlins go to the movie theater where they watch Snow White. Billy and his little gal pal. What's her name in this? Forget.
Yeah.
But Phoebe Cates plays her. They go and they like let the gas out, and then they leave like a lit thing there. So they blow up all the gremlins except for fucking Stripe leaves before that happens and is eating candy at the department store. So then they see him and they go in there and they try to stop him. There's this great scene. He almost gets wet and multiplies again, but then Gizmo like pulls the blinds open, and so the sunlight comes in and like totally toasts him, like disgusting skeleton, like oozy, gross. And then
Gizmo saves the day, though.
Yay, Giz! But then, sad part at the end, the Chinese guy comes back and takes Gizmo away.
Ugh. I really did not remember that being the ending at all. I think because we had seen the sequel and Gizmo's in the sequel, and I thought like he had always had him as a pet at that point, but I guess not. So the Chinese guy is like, "Hey, I told you, like the Mogwai have a huge responsibility if you have one of those."
I don't think he told him that. He really didn't tell him anything except no, not for sale.
No, he did say something about responsibility, and then he makes some connection to like that's what happens when all you people like do destroy things and like can't have no responsibility. I don't know if that was like a commentary about like 80s life or something, or like Western life.
Too many gizmos, too many gadgets.
And then Gizmo has to go away. Sad, but he says, bye, Billy.
Oh, yes.
But it was a lot of work. And we're like, really, what kind of a pet can you have when you go, you can't take it out in the daylight?
Yeah. Like one wrong move, just like this, and it just snowballs.
It never would have worked out. But I'm sad he has to like sit in that little box forever in the dark Chinese dungeon of that guy's like weird antique shop. But, and then the dad like had done this voiceover in the beginning, and he is like a parallel to like, I thought that was kind of cute when he's like, if, you know, your washing machine's on the fritz or something, like, don't call like a repairman. It could be a gremlin. So just put on a lot of bright lights. Like, yeah. I thought that was like a funny little connection to real world problems.
Cute.
Yeah. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised how good this movie was. Yeah. So 80s, but
I feel like so the dad's a crazy inventor, and he has all these terrible inventions that don't work or are useless.
Do you think this is a like small section of, you know how we always talk about bad dad theme in the 80s movies? Well, is this like a variation on that?
Well, are you thinking of Rick Moranis' character in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes.
But at least his inventions were useful. Like, I feel like that they weren't dumb things. Like, I feel like there's another movie where someone keeps making dumb inventions.
It really like,
Data from the Goonies, maybe? Or like something.
I thought Data's were even a little better than this guy. This guy's were like not improvements on everyday things. I mean, I got where he was going with some of them. Like one was like the telephone. It was almost like a portable phone that he tried to make. But everything had like a remote control. Yeah. So you see like the mom trying to turn on a lamp with a remote control. So she has to like put up the antenna on the remote, then push the button, when really it would be so much easier to walk over the lamp and turn it on.
And nothing works. So it's terrible.
So that's the thing.
And then later he goes to a convention, which I assume is called the Useless Invention Convention.
Hey, that rhymes.
I know. And there's just a bunch of that shit all around. So, I mean, I don't think he makes much money. I think there was a quip about that, how Billy is the one making the money for his family. Why doesn't the mom work?
Mom is badass. She could get shit done.
She should get a job as a bodyguard or something. She would be great at it.
She has no fear, that woman.
No,
she's
my
so hero.
Great. That was your favorite. That was totally the best part. She was badass.
She's like, let me just grab some knives. Like,
she like wasn't even that scared and just like fucking did it and was done with it. Like,
and even when like finally they do kind of get her and she's like wrestling with it in the Christmas tree, and then Billy comes and like takes that one away. He's like, Mom, are you okay? She's like, I think so. Just like scratches on her face, like,
but then he like hides her. Yeah, but then he like hides her in the neighbor's house. I know. I mean, she could have helped.
Should have put that lady to use
for sure. But yeah, I loved that part. So kind of a random part though. So once the Gremlins start getting really out of hand, they end up in a bar, and it's the bar where Phoebe works. We'll just call her Phoebe. You know, her character's name is something else. We'll look it up. So there's all these gremlins in the bar, and they're just so crazy. Kate. Well, tough one. Yeah. So Emily, sweetie, you were very concerned about this part because there were gremlins swarming the bar, and what was she doing?
So I have a problem with Kate's judgment call here. So maybe she didn't like know what was going on, but she worked at this bar, and she's treating these gremlins like customers, unruly customers, where everyone else saw the gremlins in the town, and they're like, what the fuck is that? She's like serving them popcorn and pouring them beers. Like, Kate, get a life. Like, what is wrong with you?
Maybe she was just...
She's lighting their cigarettes.
I know.
I mean, did she want a tip?
But then she kept being like, don't hurt me. Like, she was kind of being like, kidnapped and like forced to do these things
at all.
It was weird. I know. I was like, stop pouring them drinks. They don't need more alcohol.
I mean, maybe she thought they were gonna hurt her if they like she didn't do what they wanted. But then this is the part where like, and I remember this really more from the second one, and this only happens in like one scene. Well, I guess like towards the end, all the gremlins like take on these like little personas. They like have hats, and like one is like they're all playing a poker game. One is lipstick on suddenly, and like this old lady hat with a veil.
He identified as a woman, so
right. the trans gremlin,
totally fine.
One steals a gun and tries to rob the bar and tries to shoot her.
Well, this is my eternal question: where do they get all these little hats? These like little costumes, a gun. And the department store, Stripe finds a mini crossbow. I'm not sure where they got those things, but I guess it doesn't really matter. But they do all these funny things. There's one break dancing.
Break dancer and like a leg warmers and a leotard.
There's like a flash dance, like dance maniac.
Yeah, there's like a weird like blues one. Like blues comes. That was the randomest part.
That's really weird.
There's like, and he wears like this fedora and he's drinking this like, I don't know, some like whiskey or something. Yeah, Hennessy. And then this other one comes up with these sock puppets and tries to like entertain him, and then he like shoots him. I don't know. That was weird.
It didn't. Yeah, it was weird. I think that, but that is something they totally expanded on in the second one because it was so much of that hilarious. You remember the gremlin that gets like somehow? Oh, they're in the lab and he injects himself with like the smart thing, so he turns into like a talking gremlin and he's like giving commentary on the movie. Yeah, which is awesome because I wrote down that gremlins are so meta. Like they're just so like self-referent, like you know, like it's just they're in on the jokes. They know all these like pop culture references all of a sudden.
And these ones weren't as clear as the sequel one. I don't know if because of we just don't know them or if the movie just didn't make that like a huge thing with this one.
Same Gremlins though, because Stripe comes in the second one. He gets born again essentially. Like I wonder if these like every Gremlin is just a version of those. Right. Like those are like his brothers.
Well, they all pop out of they all pop out of Gizmo again. So yeah.
And he knows that they're bad, and it's so sad when he knows when they're coming. He's like,
he knows.
And they're so mean to him, and they tie him up, and they like throw darts at him. Yeah, it made me so sad. But yeah, I also think it's funny that no one questioned before the Gremlins turn into scary Gremlins. And they're like, what is that? And Billy goes, oh, it's a Mogwai. They're always like, cool. Like, what? Why isn't anybody like, okay, what the fuck is that? B doesn't exist. Not a real animal. Like, why is nobody
right? And I feel like the biology teacher should have been like way more psyched. Right. Like, and new
like,
animal, what?
And like called someone right away and been like, check this out. Here it is. But no, everyone was like Corey Feldman was just like totally unfazed.
Well, I thought that was like supposed to be the point of that. Like, oh, he's like a little kid, and like there's all these new video games and shit out now, and like nothing impresses a kid.
Perhaps that's the commentary.
That's funny. Like looking back at that, being like, what? Because, well, I guess we would say that about kids now. Yeah, that's just like another thing. I love baby Corey Feldman. He was so cute.
He was very.
Oh my god, he's the tiniest little nugget in this.
Small.
Just loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple things I noticed. So these real deep movies in the 80s, as in deep in the 80s, like mid 80s.
Oh. I was like, I don't know if I would call this a deep movie.
Why didn't this win an Oscar? It's so deep. Yeah, I was like to like pick out the 80s things because I do love the 80s, and you know we were born then, but not really like grew up then. So I just like always find them very entertaining. Anyway. So there's this one part where this guy is like trying to impress a girl, and he's like, hey, come to my house. I got cable TV. And I think that's funny because now we're like, who has cable? Weird. But like at one point, that was like the thing. Yeah. Fucking love that. 2, this little town, it's called Kingston Falls. Sort of looks like a little bit like if you've ever seen It's a Wonderful Life, like that kind of like main street with like all these little shops on it, and there's a bank and a movie theater, and coincidentally the same set that the end of the Back to the Future is filmed when he like crashes the DeLorean into the movie theater. Same set, Universal Studios, holla back. But anyway, there's like a Burger King in the center of town, which is like a little sweet little town, so you're like, wow, they have a Burger King. But I mentioned to Sweetie how I feel like Burger King was like the jam in the 80s, way more so than it was now.
Yeah, I think they were a big deal because they aren't the like the flame broiled. Yeah, that was like a big deal, and I guess I mean
McDonald's was always big, but I feel like Burger King reached its peak in the 80s. We didn't really have
just
one.
Like Pepsi. Pepsi was big in the 80s also, but then people realized it was terrible.
It's trash, and I feel like maybe that's how Burger King is too. Because like, what do you feel about Burger King food? I don't know. Do you like anything that they have?
Okay, so personal preference, they put way too much mustard on their burgers for me, like way too much. So I always remember whenever I think of Burger King, that's what I think of.
Okay. Do they have different buns?
Sesame seeds?
Does McDonald's have sesame seed
Only
buns?
on the like fancy ones, but yeah. And remember the fries? There was that whole campaign when the fries they changed their fry recipe, and they were like
They put like flour on the fries.
Oh,
They
yeah,
like
you
coated
can't eat
them.
them.
Yeah.
So it's not my favorite. So sorry, BK. I don't love you that much.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So that I just think those are funny little 80s things. I had a slight problem with the casual blowing up of the movie theater at the end. Seemed really nonchalant that they were like, yeah, like let's just blow up the movie theater.
It's either that or have the Gremlins take over the town.
I don't know.
I think they would have allowed for it.
It just seemed it seemed like a casual blowing up of a movie theater, and I just want to bring that up.
Well, everyone else was probably dead. So
but okay, so that's the other thing. How many people did they really kill? So the biology teacher.
Actually, I'm not
you don't
100% sure he's dead because he stabbed him with that shot like in his butt. So maybe he was just like passed out. I don't know.
He definitely like bit his hand. Shit though.
I'm not sure.
The old lady, which was fine.
She must be dead. Yeah.
Probably the Santa.
Yep.
Maybe the 2 police officers.
And they imply that the Futtermans got killed, but we know they don't because they're in the second one. Which I thought they had a bigger role in this one, but I guess his time to shine was in the second one. Remember, he like kicks butt.
Well, it was funny how they show no one actually dead in this, so you don't know. It's all a question about who died. I think trying to keep it lighthearted, and also like this was again another because we figured out that it was PG. PG-13s didn't come along till the 90s, right? So even though this was like kind of scary, it still had to be rated PG. So like kids were seeing this.
Yeah.
And it was definitely, I think it mentioned in the trivia, like one of the ones where they really were like on the fence about doing it PG and almost did it R because it was like kind of scary, kind of violent.
Felt scary.
Yeah.
But I guess I suppose all of these creature feature, if you don't have, especially when the people aren't dying, the gremlins, if they get killed, they just spout like gross green slime. Yeah. So that's another way that they kind of minimize the violence. But that was also one of my fondest memories of the second one, just like all the gross green slime incidences. Like, remember when the executive like puts the gremlin in the paper shredder that's like built into his desk?
Yeah.
I never understood that. But yeah, he like feeds it into that and it like sprays up in his face. It's disgusting. Couple of notable Sweetie alum.
Yep. So we got a couple Large Marge alumni in this movie. Our favorite, small role, Judge Reinhold.
Judgy!
Judge, back in action, the judge.
We'll never forget your name now.
No, we won't. He plays a really good jerk. He's like a jerky guy.
I guess that's what he was known for.
I think so.
That's weird that he got that role and vice versa. Well, I guess, he was a jerky dad, supposed to be.
Right. So he's like a sleazy VP of the bank, and he's like kind of close to Billy's age, and he's like kind of hits on Billy's pseudo-girlfriend, Kate. And wears like a trench coat. It's just like a big old jerko.
We forgot to mention in your things that were 80s about this movie that one of the gremlins is a flasher.
Yeah.
I think that was a big thing in the 80s.
At the bar.
He just like, he's wearing a trench coat and then he just like opens it and it's just like,
and she's like, gremlin penis.
Totally 80s.
Chris Columbus was the writer. Hey ho. Woo. C squared. Loving you lots so far. Also writer, director, Home Alone. And
director, Adventures in
Babysitting. And Howie Mandel from Little Monsters is the voice of Gizmo.
Which is, I mean, if you listen closely, it does. Remember when he had that Bobby's World cartoon? Totally sounds like that. So I get it.
Bye, Millie.
Say your favorite thing.
Mogwai. Gizmo.
Okay. All right, Gizmo. Thanks.
Well, the whole movie, Gizmo's just like, Mogwai.
Like, that's all he says.
And then he says, bye, Billy, at the end. And then he says Gizmo a bunch of times.
He says bright lights, too.
Oh, bright lights.
So he's sweet.
And the one you pointed out, Robbie the Robot.
Yeah, Robbie the Robot, who is a famous robot from Forbidden Planet, who is somehow makes cameos, and I think he's like the most cameos of like any character. Don't quote me on that. I'm totally making it up, but I know there's a lot of cameos, not just in sci-fi movies, but across the board. So we saw him in Earth Girls Are Easy, and he was in this at the invention. What did I call it? The Useless Invention Convention. He was there. Also, was he really? Did he really drive by?
Yeah,
Steven.
So I read that in the trivia. There's a bunch of directors at that convention.
Oh, a bunch?
Yeah.
So Steven rides by in a car.
Yeah.
Weird.
I'll look at that one again. But
name them. Yeah, it's funny. You never really know what directors look like. I feel like except for Steven Spielberg, well, and Tim Burton, I guess. I don't really know what directors look like. And okay, I know what yes, but like if you showed me a picture of Chris Columbus, I don't think I would know what he looked like.
Do you think he looks like Christopher Columbus, the explorer?
So. I hope he does. That makes the most sense to me, anyways.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg produced this, so he was like heavily involved in this too. Because as I was reading like all the stuff, interesting on the trivia, I read that Christopher Columbus thought of this idea when he was in NYU Film School as a graduate screenwriter, and he was living in this like sketchy loft in the Garment District. And I'm going to read this quote because I think it's good. So he said, "By day, it was pleasant enough, but at night, what sounded like a platoon of mice would come out, and to hear them skidding around in the blackness was really creepy."
Ew.
Yeah. Spooky Spookerson.
So another original screenplay.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Oh, my God, I'm obsessed. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about the like really random story that the Kate character tells about. So the whole time she like hates Christmas, is so grumpy about Christmas, and she's like, I don't understand. Like everyone always gets so mad at me when I say I don't like Christmas. If I was like, I hate President's Day, people would be like, why?
It's true,
but
no one cares about that.
Yeah. What's the story, sweetie?
So she tells us a story about how on Christmas Eve, her mom and dad were waiting, her and her mom were waiting for her dad. He never comes home. They start to get worried. They call him at work. He's not there. Christmas goes by. He still doesn't come home. I guess it's sometime after that. It's cold. She wants to light the fire. So she goes to light the fire, and that's when she notices the smell. So they call the fire department. They open the chimney, and they find her dead father in the chimney, wearing a Santa costume. So I guess he was going to surprise her and her mom by coming down the chimney with presents, but he broke his neck on the way down or something and died instantly. So he was stuck in the chimney. Weird plan, first of all. My question was he a drunk? Like, what? Why are you like, yes, I should go down the chimney? That's just a terrible idea, I feel like. I'm sorry. No offense to her dead father.
I mean, did he know Santa wasn't real? Like, you can't do that.
Oh, yeah. And she goes, that's when I knew Santa wasn't real.
Did your dad? Because, like, what the fuck? No one can... I thought... So when she was telling that story, I didn't think that he slipped and broke his neck. I thought he got stuck in there and was, like, stuck in there for 5 days.
Then he would have, like, been able to cry out.
Yeah, I know. But, yeah, that was, like, really fucked up. And I was reading in the trivia how, like... it was Steven Spielberg or someone didn't want to include that in the scene because they're like, this is like kind of weird and like really doesn't make any sense at all. And like why does that girl? Well, I don't know if it like you need to have that girl hate Christmas because
when all the Gremlin stuff is happening, she goes, great, another like terrible Christmas.
Right.
And then I guess I'll just tell you the story now. I don't know. Yeah.
And I feel like he was barely listening because that's why like they're in the bank and he's like trying to find phones that work and he's like picking up all these phones and she's like pouring her heart out.
He was like, oh my God. Gizmo was horrifying. He was like, what the fuck?
I know, Gizmo's face.
That was so cute. Weird. Did you find these directors or what?
I can't find it. It's
all
like
right.
too many
Forget
things,
it. It's over.
But I do have. Well, I did say some trivia already, but another one I had is that all the Gremlins were animatronic.
Or were they claymation? I feel like some of
they
the
were
big scale ones were
animatronic
claymation.
And were valued at between $30,000 and $40,000 each.
See, that's why I think when there's a scene where they're like coming, like I swear some parts were claymation. Just the way that it looked.
But they had each individual one was animatronic. So they said when people left the lot that day for after filming was over, they would make people open the trunk of their cars because they thought people would steal them because they were worth so much money.
I bet Steven Spielberg has them all under his bed in a box.
Yeah, totally. But I like the Gizmo one. There was like obviously like several of those, and the Gizmo one was the one that kept breaking down the most. So that one where
was
the
it
Gremlins
getting wet?
Good one,
Steven.
No, they can't get wet. So that scene where the Gremlins have him on the dartboard, I guess that was like the whole staff was like so pissed off at the Gizmo robots that like they would make this list that was like 100 ways to kill Gizmo, and one was to like put him on a dartboard, so that like manifested into the real movie.
No,
I know, he's so cute. Originally supposed to be released on Christmas, I guess would have been the year before or maybe that year, But Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones Temple of Doom were also released that summer, so they held it off till summer to release it at that same time.
What a good summer.
I know. Fuck, man. Movies used to be so good.
Yeah.
Now they're trash.
They're good.
Now they're garbage.
There's still some good ones.
Yeah, we just saw Rogue One. Recommended.
Good stuff. Good food.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed this. I'm kind of pumped about it. It didn't really put me in the Christmas spirit per se.
Yeah, it made me a little nervous about Christmas, to be honest.
Guess what?
What?
Guess what I got you?
Not a Mogwai.
Mogwai.
No! How did you get one? I'm not ready for one.
Yeah, you can't take the responsibility.
God. Do you think for Furbies, did it say anything in the trivia about how like the idea for Furbies was like from this? Because they're exactly like Gizmo.
Furby again? It, like repeat what you said?
It would just talk. I think it would just talk to you.
Oh.
It was like possessed. Yeah,
that was one gift we never got.
I know. They were such a big deal.
Remember? Wasn't that one of the ones where people were like going crazy at malls and like trying to kill each other for a Furby?
That, Tickle Me Elmo.
Tickle Me Elmo.
The craze.
Fuck toys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love toys.
I mean,
but
toys too.
Toys are great.
Get over it.
Yeah, didn't even name. Yeah. Anything else you needed to talk about?
No, I think I covered all my notes.
I really want to watch the second one now.
Yeah.
So we'll watch that soon, probably.
Yeah.
We should do sweetie sequels. Yeah.
Sweetie sequels in the house. Yeah, I really like watching these ones where we maybe are like definitely classic 80s movies, but we really haven't seen them as many times as other people. Just like we said, because this one's like a little bit old for us. But I like doing that. I feel like part of the gang, part of the group.
I loved it. Yeah. It's what's good. Yeah, so thanks for listening. Do us a solid, leave us a review on iTunes, follow us at the Sweetie Club on Twitter, and like us on Facebook.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbors.
Yeah. Tell everyone, please.
And remember, don't feed the Mogwai after
midnight.
But
I'm not really sure about the rules, the extent of that rule. It seems a little shady to me.
A little shifty shady.
It's a little loose.
Merry Christmas from
Merry
the Sweeties.
Christmas.
Have a lovely time with your friends and family.
Oh, someone's at the door. Weird. All right.
Bye.
Bye.